Welcome to the tutorial on how to create this adorable floral initial. Now this one's a little different to our usual floral initial sweaters as we're doing this on a denim jacket. So we're going to be using more of a thinner yarn. It's going to be a different type of stitch, but this is a really beautiful one to do and it's very, very beginner friendly. So once you've cut around your stencil, make sure to keep those scraps to one side. You can always draw on them and use them again later to stitch on. So once we've worked out where we're going to position our stick and stitch onto our garment, we're just going to peel off the backing and we're going to make sure that we stick it to the garment nice and firmly. We're going to take a good arm's length pull of the yarn that we're choosing for our flowers. I'm going to start with a nice pink here and we're just going to thread this onto our needle, and to get this onto your needle you're just going to pinch between your thumb and your forefinger and just slide it through like that and pull it through. Now you're not going to have any fancy knots on the end, it's just going to have a nice little overhang, and that is it. You're ready to start. So I'm going to start my project here at the bottom. Now I would advise getting your colour scheme sorted before you start. It will definitely help with any unnecessary unpicking. Now this is a very beginner friendly project. It's a very simple stitch, nothing too complicated. So starting at the tip of the petal, we're just going to start in the middle section. We'll leave a tail underneath, which we're going to tie off to later. And for this size, we're just going to do 3 little stitches in here. It's a very simple one. So we're just going to bring our needle down and then we're going to go to the right and then to the left. But the trick here is to make sure you bring your needle down approximately just 1 millimeter. It's only a smidge difference, but it will make the difference in the shape of your petal. So we're just going to bring our needle up again at the top section and then bring it down into where we anchored our last stitch. But you can see where we've come down slightly, and I mean it's only a slight difference, but it really makes the shape look so much more petal-like. And I'll show you one where I don't do that later on so you can see the difference. And this is it. We're just going to do 3 little straight stitches into this section here, and then we're going to move on to the next one. And we're just going to continue like that around the whole of the flower. So we're just going to bring our needle, oh, I just got a little bit of snagging here. I'm just going to correct that. And we're just going to bring our needle to the tip of that petal. And again, starting in the middle section. So I'm just going to bring that one into the center. And then again, I'm going to give about a 1 millimeter, slightly bring it down ever so slightly and fill in the right side and then fill in the left side. And we're just going to continue like that for all the petals. And I'm just going to show you here what happens if you don't bring your needle down ever so slightly from after you've done the first stitch. So here I'm bringing my needle right next to the previous stitch, and you'll see it creates kind of like a boxy shaped petal, which is not really the look that we're going for. So we want to make sure that we bring our needle down on the next stitch ever so slightly, and it's only, like I said, just a 1 millimeter difference, but it does make it look a lot better. So you can see here I haven't done that, and you can see it looks a little bit more squared. Could just be me being a little bit pedantic, but I prefer that sort of rounded shape. So once we finish that flower, we're just going to tie off. So we've got our starting tail and our threaded needle. We're just going to track underneath our work to bring those two tails together, and then we're going to tie them together in a triple knot. Once we've done that, we just snip away our ends and we are ready to move on to the middle section. So next we're going to put on about a half of what we put on before, so just about ½ meter of the colour yarn that you're going to be using for the centre. Now if you're a regular of Pixie Me, you'll know normally in our daisies we always do a French knot. Make sure we leave a little tail underneath, but for this project we want it to be nice and beginner friendly, so we're going to do our satin stitch. So I'm just going to pop 3 little stitches into this section here. It makes it a lot more beginner friendly. If you are a little bit more experienced, you can of course pop 3 or 4 little French knots in here. We do have tutorials on that if you'd like to give that a go, but this is a very beginner friendly version and I think it actually looks really sweet as well. So once we've popped our third little satin stitch in here, you may find that it only needs 2. For this section I definitely needed 3. I'm just going to flip my garment over and you'll see now we've still got our threaded and our starting tail. We're just going to tie those two together in a triple knot and snip away any excess ends. So once we've cleared all that, your underside should look like this, and you've done your first flower. And we're just going to continue like this, filling in all the rest of the flowers, including the centers. And then once we've done that and we've tied off all of our flowers nicely, we are going to be ready to add our greenery. Next, we're going to put on a good armful and a half, or even 2 good armfuls. You want to be quite generous with this greenery because we want to try and do the whole initial if we can in one hit. And the greenery is really just, it's creative freedom. I mean, you can put it pretty much anywhere that you like. Make sure wherever you start, you're leaving that starting tail underneath. And I'm just going to show you how I like to do it. I like my floral initials to be quite full of the greenery. Some people, they prefer just to put a little bit in. Some like it very, very full. It's entirely up to you with this bit, how you like it or what sort of look you're going for. But you'll see here, I'm just going to fill in all of the gaps in between the petals with little bits of green. And sometimes I might only put 1 piece in there. Sometimes I'll put 2. It depends on how full you want it to look. But we're just going to go ahead like this and fill in all of the spaces with a little bit of greenery. I've got this big gap here, so I'm just going to pop one long one in there. And then I've got enough yarn on my needle to continue on and to make a start on the next flower. And we're just going to continue like this all the way around. If you find that you run out of yarn, that's absolutely fine. You're just going to take your needle off your thread, re-thread on some more yarn and continue. And then I'll show you how we tie off those ends when we get to the end of the project. So we're just going to continue like this, adding little bits of greenery in between each flower until we get to the top. And once we get to the top, we're just going to flip our garment over. Now we're just going to use our threaded needle, and we're not going to pop a knot in here because there's quite a lot of things to hold on to. We're just going to do a little whip back stitch through our work. Now I would suggest doing this 5 or 6 times. You're only going to see me do it 3 times, but I would suggest doing it 5 or 6 times. And once you've really weaved it through for 5 or 6 times, you can just snip away at the end. There's a lot to hold on to, and it's very unlikely to undo. You can, of course, pop a little knot in there if you feel you need a little bit more security there with your stitches. And that's it. Your floral initial is all finished. Let's get this stick and stitch removed. So to remove the stick and stitch, you're just going to rinse your garment under lukewarm water, and you'll see it all starts to peel away. There is also, if you've got the shower setting on your tap, this is also very, very useful at removing this product. So you'll see in a minute that I'm going to be using this, and it really helps wash it away really nicely. Once you have washed away all of your stick and stitch and you're happy that it's all been removed, you're just going to flat lay to dry, and then you are all finished. I really hope you enjoyed this project. This is a beautiful one to make gifts for friends and family. Happy stitching, guys.